I just finished watching the Chainsaw Man movie, the Reze Arc, and I gotta say, guys, I would have never thought in a million years that this would have been as good as Demon Slayer, but everybody's been talking about it. Everybody's been talking about it being movie of the year. Maybe. Maybe. That was phenomenal. I am very, very surprised. This was a major step up from the first season of Chainsaw Man. And the Chainsaw Man first season, I actually liked a lot. This is just way better. I am now officially a Chainsaw Man fan. I am looking forward to what's to come. We are going to be talking about the entirety of Chainsaw Man with spoilers ahead. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about what I liked. I don't think that I disliked any of it, but of course, we'll go through it. Maybe something will come to mind. I do these videos unscripted. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with many YouTube channels. So, I want to talk about the movie in general before we actually dive into the plot. I have always, and something that I talked about in my review for the first season of Chainsaw Man, I can't really put my finger on what it is, but I really love the animation. I love the animation style. I love the colors. The characters are like very unique looking, and they're very unique in general. Like, Chainsaw Man is a very interesting premise, despite like me not being interested in it at all. If you happen to just be watching this video without following the channel, something that I mentioned in my first review was like, I was holding off on watching this for so long. I have always heard about people talking about how great Chainsaw Man is, and I look at it, I look at the poster, and I'm like, okay, it's a dude with a chainsaw head and chainsaw arms. There's no way I'm going to like this. This is not interesting to me, but I ended up giving in. I liked the first season a lot, and the movie was just amazing. Now, like I said, I'm officially a fan now, so I like the animation style. Typically, these slow burn things for me is not something that I'm interested in at all, but I'm fascinated by Denji's story. There was a couple things that kind of like, creeped me out a little bit by the way that Denji reacts to like being touched and all of that. I think they go a little bit overboard there. I typically don't really enjoy these slice of life type things. I'm more of an action guy. Like, when they got going, man, oh my God, they got going. So I'm very happy with this entire thing. I think the animation was great. I think the fight was great. Everything delivered. The story was supremely interesting. And I even ended up liking the beginning of the movie, which is the slow part, okay? So, we kick things off, right? And, okay, actually, I figured out something, like, right when we're kicking things off here. One thing that I didn't like about this is Power wasn't in it. Something that I loved throughout the entirety of Season 1 was Denji and Power together. This is one of the anime shows that actually made me laugh here and there. And anime shows don't typically do that. I always find their humor kind of stupid. You know, like when they try to make people laugh, like, I can't think of a good example. I always point back to Demon Slayer, and like, everybody seems like Zenitsu to me sometimes. When they do that stuff, I think it's cringe. I think it's, I hate it, okay? Chainsaw Man is one of the few anime shows that I've ever seen that actually gets chuckles out of me. Power and Denji together is something that does that. So we see it at the beginning of the movie. We see Denji, and that's another thing, okay? That's another thing. I thought this was going to be about the door. Because if I'm not mistaken, at the end of Season 1, Denji opened the door. I'm pretty sure I remember that's what happened, but I didn't go back and double check, so he's just dreaming again to not open the door. He wakes up, he starts fighting Power, and that's the type of thing that I liked from Chainsaw Man. Again, Denji and Power's dynamic together is something that I was really looking forward to in this movie. Thankfully, the movie was good enough on its own that I was completely happy without Power. So I don't really know if that's a negative, but I still do wish that we could have seen a little bit more of Power, okay? So, anyways, Makima wants to take Power away to drain her blood because she gets too egotistical or something like that. When she gets too much blood, she ended up growing horns. And we're introduced to this character, and the character's name is Beam, I believe it is. Yeah, Beam, the guy with the shark devil. He comes in, annoys the hell out of me. Annoys me. You know, that's something like, there's these things that anime shows do that I just can't stand. But again, Chainsaw Man's good enough where I can get past the yelling, I can get past the cringe, like, oh my God, a girl likes me. And I can get past the screaming. Like, I hate the type of characters. It seems like they're in every anime. A Zenitsu type. This guy comes in, oh my God, Denji, you're the greatest. Denji's the greatest. Oh my God. Like, as if anybody would, like, be that obsessed with somebody. It's ridiculous, okay? As the movie went on, I ended up really, really liking him as a character. So, he has this new partner. Denji punches him in the face. This is what I love about Denji, too. He just does not care. I think Denji's a great character, and I think it is officially, like, a pretty big misconception that Chainsaw Man is a show for gooners, because I know that like the entire point of showing Makima and Reze in the way they do is to get those types of edits and get the people really, really excited for these things. I get that that's the point, but they tell the story in a good enough way where it's actually about Denji looking for a heart. It's actually about Denji being young, naive to women. That's how people take advantage of him. It excuses like that fan servicey type stuff that they do. But anyways, perhaps that could be a conversation for another time. So because Denji's being so good, Makima wants Denji, of course, we know is under her control. So she offers him a date, and she knows that Denji is very into her. And what does she suggest? A complete movie marathon. And this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because at this point, I was kind of questioning what was going on with Denji, because he made such a big deal, like, do I have a heart, Miss Makima, do I have a heart? He was going through all of these movies, not feeling a single thing. 9 out of 10 movies, he wasn't feeling a single thing. And I was thinking during that, I was like, okay, maybe Denji actually doesn't have a heart. Maybe he's just turning into a devil because he isn't really feeling sadness, happiness, laughter. He's looking at all of the, I guess you could say, humans around him, feeling the emotions of every movie, and he's not feeling the same. Makima isn't feeling the same thing. Up until the last movie, where he starts bawling his eyes out. He's like, I can't cry in front of a girl, and Makima's crying as well. So I don't know really what the point was. Is that to demonstrate that Denji's like losing his heart? I'm not sure. And by the way, I'll say this now. I have a lot of questions about this show. Please, please do not spoil anything coming up in the manga, or excuse me, that is in the manga, because I know this show is like, has a lot of chapters to it. I don't want to know anything. I'm just questioning. So please, please keep this spoiler free for me, because I am officially very invested in this. My guess is that Denji's kind of losing himself, but I'm not sure. But then again, Makima arguably probably lost herself completely, and she was crying throughout that movie too. But Makima could very well just be playing it up, because it seems like she's going to be the major villain throughout everything. But I'm still not sure about that. But we'll talk a little bit more about Makima once we get to the end of this, because there's a lot that I want to say, okay? So they get out of the movie. They're talking about it. They're having a great date. And Denji ends up asking Makima, like, hey, Miss Makima, do you think I have a heart? And she does this really cutesy thing, puts her head on his chest, just what Denji loves, right? He's in love. He loves feeling the touch of a woman. That's the point of it, I guess, that what she's doing, right? And she goes, oh yeah, Denji, you definitely have a heart. Guy's on cloud 9 after that. He got touched by Miss Makima. He loves Miss Makima. And he's all happy because he still has a heart and he's still himself. He's still a real boy. And while Denji's on cloud 9, he's kind of like just strolling the street by himself, but it starts raining. And little did we know that this is part of Reze's plan, I guess. It starts pouring rain. He has to hide in a phone booth. And here comes this girl. Here comes this brand new girl, Reze. And we saw her in the trailer. I didn't think that she was going to be the big bad guy of the entire movie. I thought she was going to come up and be this little innocent girl, but well, again, we'll get into it and why I thought that, because I'm not easily fooled by these types of things, okay? She comes in, she's all cutesy, she thinks Denji's just hilarious. You know what, I lied, I'll talk about it now. The reason why I was so convinced about this, and I had my questions, okay? I had my questions because initially, for anybody that has any sort of experience with a woman whatsoever, you would go, girls don't act like that. As soon as Denji pukes up a flower, she's out of there in the rain, running, screaming assault. Something along those lines, right? Because you're like, no normal person does that. She laughs. She's all cutesy. But the reason I was convinced about this is because Chainsaw Man has been a little bit fan servicey, and I thought that Denji was going to end up as one of those characters. You know how he's the ultimate nerd, no experience with girls, and everybody all of a sudden loves him. He's going to have 2 love interests. Makima's going to love him. This Reze girl's going to love him. He's just the hottest guy under the sun. I thought it was going to lean towards that thing, and that's why I was a little bit convinced about Reze. I thought that Denji was just going to be about a love story where he's like, I love Miss Makima. My heart's for Miss Makima. But I love this girl who is currently stimulating my entire being. You know, I thought that's where it was going. So he falls in love. He even opens up where he's like, I have this issue where as soon as somebody likes me, I like them back. And I truthfully, I know that kind of the point of this as well is to get a little bit fan servicey, but I kind of still appreciate that Denji is what most young men are. And I don't care what you say, okay? We're going to be realistic here with this video. Every single man at 16 years old or young boy at 16 years old His entire identity is touching tits. Denji, unapologetically, and because he hasn't been raised to have any sort of manners, he's fairly open about those types of things. It's true that any girl who comes along that gives you a genuine smile, laughs at you, touches you, it's not difficult for a man to fall in love. And I know that might be crazy for some people to hear depending on who you are watching this video, but that's the reality of most men. How many people, and it doesn't even have to be a pretty girl like Reze. It could be, I can't be ugly, but you get my point. Any girl who's legitimately into you, legitimately wants to be around you, invites you to a cafe, that's enough for most guys. And that's what I can appreciate about Denji's character. He's naive to all of this as well. So she invites him to a cafe to pay him back. I don't even remember what it was for. Was it for the flower that he threw up? Regardless, he's like, no, my heart's for Miss Makima. My heart's for Miss Makima. But I love this girl. This girl's awesome. No, my heart's for Miss Makima. Ends up just showing up at the cafe. That's the type of humor that I kind of like from Chainsaw Man. So she's just into him. She's sitting with him. She's chatting with him. Doesn't give two single craps about him not being in school. Has no future. He just hunts devils. He is insulting her coffee. But Denji, you're so funny. That's what I thought. That's why I thought it was going to be one of those anime shows. That's why she convinced me. In any other circumstance, I would be like, what the hell is this girl up to? But no, the anime got me. But of course, we take a pause with Denji and him just being in love, him just daydreaming about both Makima and Reze now. We circle over to Aki, and I wish that we could have seen a little bit more of Aki because I was supremely interested in the storyline between Aki and this new angel devil. I'm sorry, I forget the actual name of the devil, but it's the angel devil. It's the one that... It's a very interesting concept of a devil. It's the angel that looks like a devil. So you have all these people dying. They're reaching for him because they see an angel, but he's just a devil who wants their blood. Oh, that's creepy, man. It's creepy. So Makima assigns this angel devil who killed everybody in his town to help with Aki to catch the gun devil. And now I'm so confused, okay? What's Makima's plan? Is she working with the gun devil? I don't know. It's very, very confusing. And I don't want to know for those of you in the comments. It seems like they're setting her up to actually be the villain. Maybe she's the gun devil. Actually, that's never occurred to me. What if Makima's the gun devil and they're doing some type of Death Note thing? Spoilers for Death Note. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When Light kind of plays as the police force after L ends up dying, when he starts we gotta catch this Kira guy. We gotta catch this Kira guy, but he's Kira all along. What if that's Makima? That occurred to me just now, but I could be looking a little bit too into it, right? But anyways, Aki is at a point where he is just sick of watching people dying. He hates devils, understandably so. He refuses to be friends with the devil, but Makima said, use this devil, just pretend to like him. And after the angel devil was looking at this person suffering, saying, I believe humans should suffer when they die, Aki comes up, ends the dude's life who's suffering. And he goes, I can't even pretend to like being around you. I can't even pretend to like you at all. And another thing that I wanted to mention at the beginning of this video, and this is where I actually noticed it, was this scene. Chainsaw Man is so good at using ambience. Just from things going on, from the levels of volume from people talking, depending on how far away they are. They use it almost masterfully. And the music choice, dude. Incredible. When things get going, the music alone gets you hyped. I'm telling you, man, while this movie was probably as good as Infinity Castle, in my opinion, I really enjoyed both those. Sorry to switch topics on you for a second. I think this movie actually was, objectively better than Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, but I'm just a bigger Demon Slayer fan, so I think I enjoyed the Demon Slayer movie a little bit more than Chainsaw Man. Regardless, the reason that I brought up Demon Slayer is because it's got nothing on the Infinity Castle. Nothing. That music is, it gives you chills every single time thinking about them falling into the Infinity Castle. Dun, 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 dun. So good. So good. Conversation for another time, my apologies. But I really enjoyed this conversation. And again, Chainsaw Man does such a good job with the humor in this where Aki wants to go find the gun devil or do whatever mission of the day that they had. And the angel devil's just kind of I don't know if I wanna. And Makima was talking about how lazy this devil could be, but the devil's so powerful. It's just an interesting character. And as we continue on, we'll expand on these two. I thought they were pretty good together. So anyways, We circle back over to Denji and Reze, and this movie's so good that it hasn't lost my interest at this point, because I typically do not like this slice of life type stuff. And plus, it was cringing me out just a little bit, and this is the only thing that I think I really didn't like about the movie. I get it. I get Denji's inexperience with women. I get that we all get butterflies, especially at 16 years old, and especially like if you're somebody who's never had contact with a woman before. I get it. But you don't freeze up and go, "Oh my god, she's touching me!" Like, it's horrible. It's cringe. I hate it so much. And that's what they kind of do. If somehow Denji is a majorly attractive man by never going to school, so Reze has this great idea like, "Hey, let me take you to the school overnight and we can hang out and do some other stuff." You know, they end up having this romantic moment in class together. Denji's making me laugh a little bit sitting in the chair, being stupid. So she has this great idea to go skinny dipping. I've never actually watched an anime show either where characters, aside from Attack on Titan, but I don't think that counts, where characters actually end up getting naked. I don't know if it's a common thing for anime shows to just like not have the actual parts. I'm talking about like for YouTube purposes, the box and the little brown parts. You know what I mean? I don't know for what we have to abide by for YouTube guidelines over here. But none of that was present, and it just made their bodies look awkward to me. I don't know what I would have rather seen, to be honest with you. I think the entire like fan service thing of anime is a little bit weird. But anyways, she wants a skinny dip with him. Denji can't swim. She's like, "Oh my god, I'll teach you." And Denji's like, oh my god. That I wasn't a fan of this, okay? He ends up going swimming. They have a great time together. The wholesome music is on. And I'm also thinking too, I'm sorry, I can't remember if this was before or after the skinny dip, but at some point, she ends up going to the washroom. Or no, she was by herself. There was something about her being by herself where she kind of looked like a little ominous. I can't remember what it is though. Regardless, she ends up going to the bathroom, and prior to her going to the bathroom, we see another cutscene to somebody working with a typhoon devil. I thought the typhoon devil was going to ambush them in the pool, but that didn't happen. It's this guy who takes people's loved ones, skins them, sends them body parts, and then it gets anybody to cooperate. Like, I would imagine that would also work on Denji. That would work on pretty well anybody, right? So he comes in, and it's this crazy scene. She goes after they all love each other, and Denji's hanging out in the classroom, and Denji is, again, this is where I don't like the fan servicey stuff that they do, but I can still appreciate that this is every single 16-year-old boy. How many times have you been in a classroom where you are imagining maybe two girls that you like, or two girls in general, two girls around you, just naked or in lingerie or something like that? That's Denji, right? That's Denji, and that's every single boy ever in Denji. So he's not thinking of anything. He's sitting in class daydreaming as every single one of us did. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to hear a conversation otherwise in the comments. I know that there's people that like to be like, "Yeah, actually, I'm better than that." 16-year-old you, really? Really? I'm 27, and those, you know, I often fantasize about my wife. You know, it's something that we do. So I'm not going to entertain that conversation elsewhere, because I know that people have been talking about like, "Yeah, we're actually better than this." It's ridiculous. Anyways, this dude comes in. He obviously wants a chainsaw heart. That's the whole point of every single one of these devils. And we still don't know why Denji's heart is so specific, why everybody wants it. I'm curious to know that as well. What the hell is so special about Denji's heart? Is it because he merged with the chainsaw devil, or like a devil, and then he kept a little piece of himself? Not sure. I'm very interested to know what that is though. He's like so special. Anyways, again, he comes in. And I thought that girl was toast. I thought Reze was toast, because, again, I was convinced after watching the skinny dip scene, after watching her, "Oh my god, Denji. Oh my god, Denji." I thought it was just one of those anime shows, especially after seeing them naked. She was running away, and it looked like he was just going to skin her. I was like, dude, that's going to be crazy for Denji. That's going to be crazy. I was getting ready to see, like, the saddest thing under the sun. But all of a sudden, she goes creepy. She puts him in a chokehold. He dies. I was like, okay, maybe this girl actually is a villain. I had no idea what to think of her. Maybe she was somebody that also wants Denji's heart, but I'm not sure. She talks to the Typhoon Devil. I don't know. I don't recall why the Typhoon Devil all of a sudden had to listen to her, but the Typhoon Devil now has to listen to her. So she's prepared. She goes back and she's like, "Boo! Hi, Denji. Denji's so awesome." The two end up talking a little bit more, and she invites him over to a festival with fireworks. And I didn't know until I started watching some reviews this morning about it, because I saw the movie last night. I wasn't aware that fireworks were like this big thing in Japan, because I was watching this and okay, you're going to watch a fireworks show? I literally just watched that with Akaza. I literally just saw this scene, but apparently it's a Japanese thing and I wasn't familiar with that. So Reze brings him to a special spot to go watch the fireworks. She asks Denji to leave his job, which he doesn't want to leave because he talked about this in school too. He's like, "Hey, but I get 3 meals a day and I get a futon." And she's looking out for his best interest. And this is where I was officially convinced. Well, I was convinced that there was more to her when she ended up choking the guy out, especially because it's like this little innocent looking girl choking out a big, like, horrible guy, right? I was assuming that she's a bad guy, but I wasn't like ultimately convinced. Maybe there was just more to her that we would figure out. I thought the point of this was to be a love story between Denji and him trying to pick what girl he ends up liking. Regardless, she gets him into a spot all by herself. She tries to get him to run away, and this is where I was like solidly convinced. Where she's like, "Okay, I know some people. We'd have to hide out for a little bit, but let's just run away. You and me, we can be together." And you know, it's funny. The second that Denji was like, "I don't know, is there any way that we could run away together and I still keep my job?" She turns away. I'm like, you're a little piece of work, aren't you? You're a little piece of work. Like, that's classic. They end up kissing, and it's this big romantic kiss in front of the fireworks. The movie picks up from here and does not let up for 1 second. I thought it was so creepy, and dude, my stomach dropped when all of a sudden Denji's like, and the chick bit off his tongue. There's blood all over her. She's got a creepy smile. Insane. She starts murdering Denji. Denji just does not know what's going on. He's shocked. He's betrayed. And she so creepily walks up to him and is like, "Okay, I'm going to take your heart now." And this is where Beam comes back and just saves him. And while I was so annoyed with Beam at the beginning of the movie, him screaming and panicking, running away from this character, it added to the hype a little bit, to be honest with you. I don't know why it works, but usually it doesn't work. These screaming and unnecessarily loud characters kind of reminds me of Inosuke a little bit. But Beam is being, and Beam, sorry, I should have said this earlier. Beam was kind of like, "I'm familiar with this smell. I'm familiar with this person. Oh my god, it's the Bomb Devil." Then we figure out, and I don't know if that little chip has been on our neck the entire time, but I wasn't paying attention. Obviously, who would? And then all of a sudden you start seeing explosions. She's chasing Beam down. She's working closely with the Gun Devil. She is insanely powerful. We get an insane chase scene. Then Beam takes Denji over to headquarters with Aki and the Devil Angel. She levels every guy in there, looks all innocent, and they're doing the classic Chainsaw Man thing where she transforms. Her head is not herself anymore. I guess it's just shaped like a grenade. And the rest of her is pretty well naked. It works. It just does. It's for the male gaze. What can I say? Like, it's just, it was a little bit weird because typically I don't think I've ever watched an anime show like this. And I would imagine it's fairly common, and like the shows are a little bit more suggestive in this. It's just this girl fighting in her underwear. It works. It just does. She still gets the job done. She's still creepy. She oddly has some aura. And she plays up this innocent thing, but she's like creepy at the same time. Kind of reminded me of like a Melina type thing with that creepy smile. But at some point, I'm sorry, I might be misremembering the sequence of events over here. There was a point where Aki himself was fighting Reze, and loved that. Again, I wish that we could have seen a little bit more of Aki. I liked that we actually got to see the future devil's power within him. And it's escaping my memory. Is it every time he looks into the future he loses some of his life? But anyways, he ended up being able to use that power, and it was really cool to see where he's like, no wrong moves, and he was actually beating her, but then ends up getting beat himself. The Typhoon Devil, or I think the Typhoon Devil was what interrupted that fight, but the Typhoon Devil comes in. It's this literal massive typhoon taking up everything, adding to the chaos. There was at some point too where there was a big car chase. All of it was great. The music was phenomenal. Denji was getting revived by the Devil Angel. All of this fighting was supremely fun. I will say there's one thing that I don't really like about Chainsaw Man a little bit, and it kind of does the same thing that Jujutsu Kaisen does. The animation's great. It's fun. It's hype. The music's perfect, right? But when things get, like, too chaotic, I might as well not even be watching the movie because there's so much going on, and, like, things are, like, low res. It's just this thing that I've seen in anime. I can relate it to Jujutsu Kaisen, where these characters are so small. I get the explosions are there. Just show me something. It's like, it's worse than getting, like, a shaky cam in a movie. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me at that, but for the vast majority of it, it was great. I forgot to mention before the Typhoon Blade, the Angel Devil was trying to get Denji to use his chainsaw power in another way, and it was very pleasant because a lot of people in the theater ended up laughing at this. Denji's idea is to get on his trusted steed, that being Beam. So you have this messed up Denji riding him, catching up to the devil, and I still like how naive Denji is, where he ends up talking, and this, I know I'm rewinding a little bit. This is on top of the car. Remember, she's there, and she's still flirting with Denji, like, Denji, I still like you. And Aki has to say, she's messing with you, idiot. Why are you believing her? Go get her. And when Denji finally ripped that cord and started sawing through the head, I was like, I would have never thought before watching the show that I'd get hyped up to see a guy with a chainsaw head. But he did a good job, man. Everything about this was insanely fun to watch. But then before we actually end up closing up the fight, we have a really cool moment between Aki and the Angel Devil, because the Angel Devil is depressed, doesn't want to live, it's ready to die. He basically lets himself go, and Aki ends up grabbing him by the hand, and there was a little bit of emphasis on him being grabbed by the hand, so maybe that's why Aki's losing some of his lifespan, because of course he was worried about losing more of his life because his life is already shortened. Don't know exactly what caused that. I was a little bit confused, but it was interesting to see Aki end up saving a devil. He doesn't want people to die anymore. He hated the devil, but he sacrificed months of his lifespan to save him. This is why I wish that we could have seen a little bit more of Aki moving forward, because I really like the dynamic between them two, and I'd be interested to see how that plays out moving forward with those two working together. I think they're great characters. But we close up the fight, and I wish that I could expand upon the fight a little bit more. It's just cool. It's just hype. It was never ending. It was literally the entire second half of the movie. Kind of like Demon Slayer, actually. It's funny how these movies were so different, but you can compare them at the same time. It was all gas, no brakes, up until the end where Denji actually figures out that he can detach his chainsaws and use them as kind of whips. After a final standoff with Reze, he brings them together, and it looked like Denji was going to sacrifice himself. He brings her to the bottom of the, I don't know if it was an ocean or a lake or whatever body of water it was. They're in a big, grand body of water. They sink to the bottom, and it made it seem like they were going to die, but we know that there's going to be more of Chainsaw Man, and Denji's not actually going to die. So they're drowning, but Beam ends up saving them, and Beam ends up reviving Reze. On the beach, Denji, being himself, wanting love, still loves this woman. He revives her, and he's like, just run away with me. I know what we had was real. She still admits to him, saying, like, you're so stupid. None of it was real. It was all performative. My mission just failed. Denji still tries. He gets punched in the face or something, and she ends up running off. It was a little bit heartbreaking. You feel bad for Denji, because Denji, he's got a heart. He wants to love. And he tells her that he's going back to the cafe that she worked at. He's going to be waiting if she changes her mind. And it seemed like, I was kind of thinking like, okay, Denji, well, so much for that. You're just going to be waiting there and get your heart broken. But Reze actually changes her mind. So there was something real there. She actually did end up loving Denji. And then Makima comes in. I didn't think about it because the movie was so entertaining. But something that I would have been a little bit disappointed in is we didn't see Makima use her powers at some point. Whew! This girl is ruthless. I thought we were actually about to see them kind of reunite, and then I was like, okay, where's this story gonna go? She loves Denji. There's no way that anybody's gonna be okay with the Bomb Devil dating Denji, so they would have to run away together. And I thought that would be a brand new arc moving forward with another season, is them on the move, and maybe Makima has to catch him. Maybe this is where he turns on Makima, and Makima is ultimately the bad guy. Maybe you can get a story where the Gun Devil's actually a good guy. That's where my head was kind of going with all this. She just shows up and ruthlessly just murders Reze. Reze is so close to Denji, she can see him in the back of his head. Denji's waiting at that waiting at that cafe. He's depressed, he's sad, he's waiting for her to show up. She gets so close, and Makima just rips her in an alley. With the Angel Devil on top too, just stopping her movement. No matter what she did, she was too quick. And how the hell strong is Makima, by the way? She's got everything going for her, and it's so effortless too. They managed to give a character like Makima so much aura, and I think like just her presence alone is very, very, very cool to watch. But what's sad about it is Denji thinks that she just ran away and does not love him. Reze ended up getting so close to him, just died brutally. And Makima's like looking over her pile of blood, and Denji's never gonna find out. So we know that she wants control over Denji, but why? Makima really does seem like the bad guy, and she's probably gonna go back and she's gonna flirt with him. But is Denji gonna love Makima again? Because he was really falling for Reze no matter what. Reze was infinitely more interested in him than Makima was pretending to be, but Makima could probably win him over the same way again. Or Denji's gonna be pissed off and like have a bunch of hatred for the world because this girl, she pretended to like me and even said it throughout the movie at some point. Why is it every time I give my heart out, it ends up getting stomped on? It happens to a lot of people. It's a very relatable character, Denji, I'm talking about. So maybe he will go back to Miss Makima and be like, she was always there for me. She always had my heart. Now I love Miss Makima again, but he doesn't know. And he's got to find out at some point that Reze was killed by Makima. He's got to find out, and I would imagine maybe then he'll actually betray Makima in some way or have a fight with her, but how are you supposed to defeat Makima? But then again, there's something special about Denji and his Chainsaw Man heart that we don't know about. I thought that final scene was a perfect way to end off the movie. Very cool. She got so close to Denji, was actually changing her mind, and Denji could have found happiness. And Makima just shows up. Boom, boom. Angel Devil on top. Girl's dead. Bomb Devil's done. Another, someone close to the Gun Devil. But then we have the post-credit scene. So you're feeling all of that. Denji's told to give up. She's out of his league anyways. And then he gets so excited. He gets so excited because the door ends up opening. I'm like, who the hell's opening the door? Because obviously it's not Reze. Power walks in, eats his flowers. They start fist fighting. That's the comedy that gets me in Chainsaw Man. I thought that was really, really great. So you're left off with this like sinking feeling like, oh my god, Denji could have actually had a love story to him in power fighting and then it being a funny thing. I thoroughly enjoyed this entire movie. I don't know. I think it might be actually a better movie than Demon Slayer. But Demon Slayer, I like a little bit better because kind of like Denji talking about, Demon Slayer has my heart. I'm more invested in Demon Slayer. But I'm officially a Chainsaw Man fan. I have no idea where this is going to go now. He's probably going to love Makima again. Well, I don't even know what the hell Makima's plan is. I'm interested in every single character. The only critique that I have is that I wish we saw more power, but they did such a good job. Is it even really a critique? Because it might have been the right move. Power might have interrupted the entire flow of things here. Maybe it would have been cool if Power ended up joining the fight. Like, my blood's been sucked. It's all good. I'm ready to go. If she joined in the fight and maybe the Bomb Devil ended up like rendering her useless, just beating her or something like that, I would have just liked to see her more. Power's great. Denji's great. The characters are great. The animation's great. This movie's great. The music's great. Loved this entire thing. And if you are interested in hearing my Season 1 review for Chainsaw Man, you can check it out right here. I'd love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Take care, everybody.